welcome back to the vlog. So today I wanted to go over my doctor's appointment that I had last week after my third failed transfer in my IVF process. So I have my little notes here that I took, or that she wrote for me when we went there. So I'm going to quickly go over how that appointment went and then hopefully get into where we go from here. So I went to the doctor's. I had requested to meet with the doctors after my last transfer failed because I just felt like I needed something. I needed to talk to them and figure out if they had any more information on why my transfers weren't, working. So we went ahead, Corey and I, and we actually got into the doctor's fairly quickly after I requested it, which was really nice. And we met with our doctor, and so she didn't have a whole lot to say. She basically started with saying, wow, like she was just not expecting me to have such a hard time, and she felt really poorly about it, and she just said, statistically speaking, that we shouldn't even be where we are right now. We should be pregnant. And so that was nice of her. Unfortunate though, because I just was like, well, I'm not, so what is going on? And so she didn't have a whole lot of input really. She had mentioned a couple of things that we could do. I had some questions about the ERA test. So that's this pretty popular test that's being done with a lot of people here on YouTube and a lot of people on Facebook. And it stands for the endometrium receptivity analysis. And so basically when you do an ERA, basically what that is you do everything you would do if you were doing a transfer. So you do all the same medication all the same day, you add all the different medications in at the right time, you do your ultrasound, and then do your progesterone shots for your 5 or 6 days, and then you go in. And the only difference is that instead of doing a transfer, they do a biopsy. So they do a biopsy of your uterine lining, and then they send it off to some company that tests it, and then they can determine through that test whether your lining was receptive or not receptive. So that's like a really popular thing in the IVF world. And I did ask her about it, and because a lot of people were commenting and telling me that I should do that and saying that that's what needs to be done, and you probably just need more hours on your progesterone. And so I did ask her about it. Now, every clinic is going to be a little bit different, and every doctor may be a little bit different. And the way that my doctor explained it to me was that she said she'd be willing to do it. However, she said that she doesn't feel comfortable recommending it to people until the evidence is there that it works, and it's not quite there yet. There was one study done, and it was a big study, but they haven't quite proven that study yet, and that's why she said she doesn't typically recommend it to people, but she said she would be happy to do it if I wanted to do it. So that was kind of that. I thought that was going to be our answer, just from what I had heard on YouTube and Facebook, that the ERA was going to solve all our problems. But she didn't seem to think that. And she also said really the way she sees it is that this company that does the testing, they don't do it at the lab there. It gets sent to this company, this private company that offers the testing. She says, the way I see it is this company is trying to prove their theory on your dime. She said if the company was saying, hey, do you have some ladies that need to do this, we'll pay for it so that we can prove the theory, she said she'd be all for it. But she said basically they're trying to prove their theory by getting us to do this again and again so that it's on our dime. So that's going to be a very debated topic because a lot of people did ERA tests and a lot of people got positive pregnancy tests afterwards. So the thing is though, how do you know that was the ERA? It could have just been a healthier embryo. So it's hard to say. That's what she said. And after thinking about it and talking with her about it, we have decided that we are not going to do it because I trust my doctor. She's a good doctor, and she's the one that knows, and so I am going to trust her, and we are not going to do that test. What she did mention was that she could do an endometrial scratch. So basically what that is before the transfer, they go in and they scratch or irritate the uterus, and then that helps the embryo stick. There's two different reasons, I think, and I probably can't even explain them properly. One of them has to do with your pH balance in your uterus, that sometimes if the pH, like hormonal and pH balance is off, if you go and kind of wound your uterus, I guess, for lack of a better word, then it will recruit all the good healthy things and send them that way, and then hopefully help the embryo implant. So that is free, so we will be doing that the next time we decide to transfer. And the other second change is that we are going to do a more aggressive down regulation. So instead of just doing day 21 nasal spray to kind of turn my hormones off, they're actually going to do a Lupron depot injection. So that's an injection that you would do once a month, and it's just a more aggressive way to shut down your hormones and your uterus and your ovaries from doing their natural thing. So I've done that before. It's actually the treatment for endometriosis, and so we are going to go ahead and do that. The thing is, you have to do it for 4 months before you can transfer. Sorry guys, I'm back. I had to move because my husband wanted to go to bed and I was in our bedroom. Shame on me. It's not even 7 o'clock, but he gets up at 1 in the morning to go fishing, so I guess that's fair. So anyways, the problem with the Lupron depot shot is that you have to do it for 4 months. We don't have to, but best practice says you do it for 3 or 4 months to completely shut down your system. And so basically with that, it's just a more aggressive way to kind of turn off my endometriosis. So I will be doing that shot once a month starting this week. Actually will be my first one. It is just intramuscular shot, so it's another long one, just like the progesterone and oil. And so I'm really hoping that'll work. I was actually on that shot for 4 months after I got my endometriosis surgery, and then the cycle after that was actually the cycle that I was able to conceive naturally when I had Kelvin. So I am hoping that there's something to that and that it will work. The only other thing is that I actually did do that Lupron depot shot my first IVF cycle when I did the fresh transfer, and so that's the only other thing. But where that transfer was fresh, I don't know, maybe my body was just still trying to recover from the surgery and stuff when they put the embryo in. So I'm hoping now that it's a frozen transfer and I've had that shot that I'll have better luck, but I really won't know until then. So I do have a little schedule here. So I will read it off to you guys. So I do start my first Lupron shot, I think it's tomorrow actually, September 23rd. And then my second one will be on October 1st. Third one will be November 18th. Fourth one will be December 16th. And then on January 1st, I will start my Superfact. So I'm still doing the same Superfact, or I'm still doing, sorry, not the same Superfact, which is the nasal spray, but I'm going to be doing it via injection every day. Instead of nasal spray 5 times a day, I'm going to do the injection once a day. So that will be another change. And again, doing the injectables is just a little bit more aggressive than doing kind of the nasal spray, and she actually asked me, and I said I would prefer to do the injection once a day than to do the nasal spray 5 times a day, because that's, I know it sounds silly, but the nasal spray 5 times a day is such a pain in the butt. I'm always at work with patients, my alarm on my phone is going off, and I have to like sit the patient down, leave them alone, run downstairs, get the nasal spray, do it. It's just a pain in the butt when I'm working. So I'm going to do an injection instead. And then on that same day, I'm going to start Provera for 10 days. So what Provera is because I've shut down my system, I won't have periods for that 4 months. And so that will completely stop my periods from coming, which is awesome because that also stops my endometriosis. And then Provera actually induces your period. So in order to do IVF, you do have to start from a fresh cycle. So I do have to have a bleed before I can start the IVF. So I'll take the Provera to get my period to come, and I'll take that for 10 days, and my cycle should come within those 10 days. Sometimes it doesn't. It has not come before when I took it, but that's fine, they said. And then the idea is that once that period comes, I will call them. So in January, when my period comes, I will call them, or if I don't get a period from taking that medication, I will call them on somewhere between the 17th and the 20th. So basically by the 20th of January, if I have not received a period, I will go ahead and give them a call. My endometrial scratch is going to be scheduled sometime in the first week of January. So between January 2nd and January 10th, I will have to call them and make an appointment for endometrial scratch. And then once I get that period, I can go ahead and start the rest of my medication. So once I've finally got that period after doing the Lupron for 4 months and taking the Provera and the Superfact injections, then my period should come. Once it comes, then I can start my hormone medication. So once that period comes, I can go ahead and start my Estrance, which is my estrogen. It will be the same as before. I'll start taking 1 pill twice a day for like 7 days, I think, and then I increase to 2 pills twice a day, and then I increase to 3 pills twice a day. And so that's kind of, the rest of the transfer will lay out to be the same. So after that cycle, it all kind of counts from there. So once you're on the estrogen for so many days, 10 to 15 days, then you go in for your baseline. Once your baseline is good, then you can start your progesterone and oil shots, and then once you do your shots, your transfer is approximately 5 days after. So that does leave my transfer at some point in February. So we have a long wait ahead of us to do another transfer, which I have mixed feelings about. Part of me is kind of like, whew, break, I won't have to think about it. And then the other part's like, oh, I don't want to wait. I've already waited so long. So, but that's what we need to do. Other than that, we don't have anything else kind of planned differently. I think I will probably try to do acupuncture again, just because it helps with my stress levels. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So it was a decent appointment. I didn't get any hardcore answers, which I would have liked, but I wasn't necessarily expecting. I was going to ask her about PGS testing, but I didn't end up asking her because, to be honest, I don't really want to do it. PGS testing is pre-genetic screening, and so basically that's where you can thaw your embryos, take a sample, send the sample away, and they can test it to find out if there's any chromosomal abnormalities. So the grading of the embryos doesn't show you that. It just is grading the cell masses that are within the embryos. The only way to truly know that your embryos are healthy and problem-free, I guess, is to do the PGS testing. Typically, I did talk to her about PGS testing when I first started, and she said with someone with my diagnosis and my age, it wouldn't be something that she would really necessarily recommend. They typically do it with women that are a little bit older, but that's again a very controversial topic, and people choose to do what is right for them, and that is perfectly fine, and that is what's right for them. So we have not decided to do that. I didn't even ask about it. It cost money, and I don't really want to go through the process of thawing and then testing and then refreezing. It's a lot of handling of the embryos. There is a chance that when you do PGS testing, you can lose embryos. So maybe if it was something that I would have thought of earlier and they could have did it before they froze the embryos, maybe, but at this point it's not really something I'm interested in. That's just my personal choice. And so yeah, that is where we're at, and I will hopefully see you guys next week. I'm not sure how I'm going to fill the weeks as we have so many ahead of us, but I will definitely let you guys know. Maybe I'll do a Q&A. We'll see what happens. All right, bye guys.